It is 9:30. It is the 23rd day of January 2021. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OGGM, and I am exhausted. I don't know if it's the weather or just finally collapsing from the craziness that has been the past year, but or maybe I'm just old. And for some reason, my glasses are dark. Support me, Red Bull. I need a sponsor, and I will sell out. It's time for the Grump of the Week, where I complain about crap because I'm old and I've just earned the right to sit on my porch and go, "Get off my lawn, you crazy kids." So, today, I'm going to complain about why is there no DM advocacy in the gaming world of 2021. We talk all the time about player advocacy, about X cards, about consent, about player control, about, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And now there's a thing going around where you can't kill another person's character unless they give you permission. Player advocacy has become the keyword: diversity, advocacy, cultural identity, words. Word. Things that were always there, but for some reason, very angry individuals over the past 2 years have felt the need to attack our hobby and say, "Oh, you're not diverse. You're not open. You're not, you're not advocating for the players," which is, of course, total bullshit. We are diverse. We are open. We are inclusive. And we have always advocated for the players. But what about us? What about us DMs who work so hard. Look at this. This is a year's worth of work, and I'm still editing it for something I may or may not ever publish. And now I have to worry about player advocacy. What about DM advocacy? What about, is it okay for a game master to say, "No, I'm sorry, that's not what happened," or "No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you kill that NPC," or question player choices like, "Why are you doing that?" Where is my advocacy as a DM to advocate for my rights and what I'm comfortable with and what I want to allow at my table? Session 0. So here's an example of where a DM should have advocated for himself, but he didn't. And the game went horribly south because the DM didn't speak up for himself. So I'm playing this game about a year ago, and it's a pretty typical low-level adventure, one-shotty kind of thing. We have to go to a temple and do some temple-y stuff. And for some reason, along the way, we run into a giant. But it wasn't an evil giant. It was a friendly giant. He'd been sent to help us get to the temple and deal with some of the more problematic issues. Basically, he was a deus ex machina that the DM had thrown in to give the players an out to avoid a combat they maybe didn't feel comfortable with. It's like, okay, well, maybe if you don't want to fight this thing, this giant will do it for you, so you can move on to the next thing. It was a total optional. We didn't have to go with the giant. It was a deus ex machina. It was a hint that we might be running into a very hard encounter that we were not prepared for because it was such a really bizarre grouping of characters. But he was a friendly giant. He wasn't attacking us. He was just there to give some information, to offer his help if we wanted it. And then for some reason, because player advocacy says I can do whatever I want, one of the player characters starts to antagonize the giant. First, he starts casting light in the giant's eyes. Repeatedly, light spell, trying to blind this giant. Why? And I'm like, "Why are you doing this?" And another player's like, "Why are you doing this?" And the giant's trying to ignore him, and the DM's like, "Okay, I don't understand why you're doing this, but I'm going to let you do it because you want to do it in player advocacy." And his attempts to antagonize the giant rapidly become more and more hostile for no reason whatsoever other than he wanted to, he could. He wanted to see if he could, provoke the giant, start a fight with the giant, get us killed. definitely he was one of those, I'm just going to piss on the game because I can players. And it's okay because player advocacy, critical role, says I can do shit like this and I won't get punished. So quickly, things got out of control. Half the party is telling him to stop. The giant's trying to get him to stop peacefully. The DM just looks totally flabbergasted, like he doesn't know how to do this. And we're all trying to, most of the table is like, dude, why are you fucking doing this? And he's just like, magic missile. It's like, dude, are you trying to get this giant to attack us? So after about 5 minutes of this unprovoked, totally pointless antagonizing of this giant, the DM finally just table flips and has the giant attack us because he's just not prepared, because he allowed this player advocacy to go on. So now a bunch of, a table of second and third level characters are fighting basically a storm giant, and the guy who's antagonizing him is like, squished for 5d10 damage or whatever and dead in like 2 seconds. And then he gets upset. He gets upset that his action caused his death and the death of another player character. And he's like, why did that happen? You shouldn't have killed me. I was doing what I wanted, player advocacy. And he got all upset. And we're all like, well, there goes our day. Can we continue? Is the game over? And the DM just sort of shut down, and he didn't know what else to do. Because player advocacy says you have to let them do that. But what about DM advocacy? What about if the DM just said, why are you doing this? What is your point? What do you think is going to happen if you keep doing this? Or just saying, you know what, dude? I don't understand why you're doing this, but it's not going to help the game move forward. So you need to stop. I'm not going to let you do this. This is counterproductive to my game. Why didn't the DM advocate for himself, for his NPC, for his story, for his table? Was he a bad DM? No, I actually thought up to that point he was a pretty good DM. He told a very good, immersive story. I'd sat on 2 or 3 others of his games. I never felt like dissatisfied from any of his games, but he did let players get away with shit that tended to just be like, why are we doing this? Because critical role player advocacy says it's okay. It's like, no, it doesn't say it's okay. Not if it's going to derail your game, DM. We game masters should have the right, still a right we've always had, to say, I'm not going to allow that at my table, or to question the motivation of a character, of a player, when they start doing something that is just completely stupid. Chaotic stupid. We've talked about chaotic stupid before. Chaotic stupid. So here's another example of where a DM did advocate for himself. Similar situation. This is about 2 years ago. I'm playing in a game, and one of the players is basically playing a chaotic stupid dwarf fighter. And we've already had one session with this guy, and it's painfully obvious that he is just at the table to get his character killed and to try and get everybody else killed. So we're wandering around in this dungeon, and he decides to go wandering off. We're all just like, agreed, we're going to go this way. And he's like, I'm going to go wander off. And we're all like, why? Because it's what my character would do. And the DM's like, why are you doing this? Well, because I'm a dwarf mercenary that's in it for the money. So I'm going to go look for money. And the DM's like, well, if you understand, and here's a DM advocating for himself and advocating for the table. He's like, okay, well, everybody else is going this direction. I'm not going to stop you from going off in that direction, but no one's going to come, you don't know what's going to happen to you by yourself. They're going to be far away. And if you split off with the party, what's to stop me from, throwing some traps at you? It's in your best interest to stay with the party. You're still going to make money. You're going to still be able to have your whatever. But he insisted on wandering off. And the DM's like, why are you doing this? You understand that you're placing your character in a situation where you're going to get killed. And he didn't care. So the DM's like, okay, ignored him for like a half an hour while he's sitting there fuming and upset because he's not the center of attention and his actions can't get us killed. And we're all like, okay, it's painfully obvious this guy is trying to get his character killed, which I don't fucking understand, and trying to get all of us killed, which I don't fucking understand. And the DM just ignores him for a half an hour. And then he's like, okay, you guys have moved on. You've had a little fun. You've had your, He switches back to him. He's still just wandering around, bopping around, chaotically stupid, and he gets killed. He runs into a Hydra. And he's like, oh, Hydra! And the DM's like, well, I mean, the Hydra was there. I expected maybe the entire party to encounter it, or not. But you went off on your own. So, yeah, deal with the Hydra. And, of course, one single second-level dwarven fighter idiot is not going to be able to take on a Hydra, even in 5e, unless he rolled a natural 20. But he didn't, so very rapidly his character died. We were, happy, because we're like, well, yeah, he was stupid, and his actions would have gotten us killed. I was happy to see a DM stand up for himself and stand up for his game and question the actions of the player character. Obviously, the player was upset because his character died, and Mercer would never kill his character, but it was obvious. It was painfully obvious with these chaotic, stupid players who use advocacy and critical role as an excuse to basically piss on the game. Their whole goal is to get their character killed and see if by their actions they can get the rest of the party killed, because it's chaotic fun and they're chaotic good, so it's okay. And their player advocacy says they can do whatever they want and there's no repercussions. But DM advocacy says, stop pissing on my game. I am going to fight to keep the game together because I want to have fun. All the other players want to have fun. If your whole goal is to just get your character killed, I'm going to let that happen. But if your whole goal is to get your character killed and the rest of the party killed and table flip my game, I'm not going to let that happen. So DMs, you need to advocate for yourself. You need to say no. You need to say, I'm not going to let that happen. You need to say, why are you doing that? To the idiot who was trying to antagonize that giant, I wanted to hear the DM say, why are you doing that? What is your goal? What do you think is going to happen if you keep pissing off this creature that is obviously powerful enough to kill the entire party? But instead, he just lost it. He just killed us and table flipped and gave up because he didn't know how to respond. Because player advocacy says it's okay. I'm a DM. I have rights too. At least I think I do. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. And yes, I know other people are going to say, well, that's never happened to me. And my response is going to be, well, that's my personal experience. And face it, the player base in Ventura kind of sucks. Comment down below if you have any experiences like this. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 500 subs by August 1st. We're at 300. Thank you very much to each and every one of you who have subscribed. Support me. Sponsor me. Wave hi to me. That was the Grump of the day. I'm your grumpy guide to all things gaming. We now return to your regularly scheduled programming. WandaVision, WandaVision, WandaVision.